The Book of Mosiah, Chapter 6. The record of Zenith, an account of his people from the time they left the land of Zarahemla until the time that they were delivered out of the hands of the Lamanites. I, Zenith, having been taught in all the language of the Nephites, and having had a knowledge of the land of Nepheth, are the land of our fathers' first inheritance. And I, having been sent as a spy among the Lamanites, that I might spy out their forces, that our army might come upon them and destroy them. But when I saw that which was good among them, I was desirous that they should not be destroyed. Therefore I contended with my brethren in the wilderness. For I would that our ruler should make a treaty with them, but he, being an austere and a bloodthirsty man, commanded that I should be slain. But I was rescued by the shedding of much blood. For father fought against father, and brother against brother, until the greatest number of our army was destroyed in the wilderness. And we returned, those of us that were spared, to the land of Zarahemla, to relate that tale to their wives and their children. And yet, I, being overzealous to inherit the land of our fathers, collected as many as were desirous to go up to possess the land, and started again on our journey in the wilderness, to go up to the land. But we were smitten with famine and sore afflictions, for we were slow to remember the Lord our God. Nevertheless, after many days wandering in the wilderness, we pitched our tents in the place where our brethren were slain, which was near to the land of our fathers, until the greater number, and having been sent as a spy. One of the things that's important to remember, that if a war is a worthwhile war, it goes beyond these sorts of boundaries, that it's not about heredity anymore, that you're going to pick sides for that reason. It's not even about country, but we're not having that point made here. You know, the New Testament says that you don't fight for your country. You've got to find a higher cause than that. Certainly it says the Israelites fought, but they weren't fighting for the country, and they had to give up on that aspect of it. And it came to pass that I went again with 4 of my men into the city, in unto the king, that I might know of the disposition of the king, and that I might know if I might go in with my people and possess the land in peace. And I went in unto the king, and he covenanted with me that I might possess the land of Lehanetha and the land of Shalom. And he also commanded that his people should depart out of the land, and I and my people went into the land that we might possess it. And we began to build buildings and to repair the walls of the city, yea, even the walls of the city of Lehanetha and the city of Shalom. And we began to till the ground, yea, even with all manner of seeds, with seeds of corn, and of wheat, and of barley, and with Neas, and with She'am, and with seeds of all manner of fruits. And we did begin to multiply and prosper in the land. Now it was the cunning and craftiness of the king Laman to bring my people into bondage, that he yielded up the land that we might possess it. Now there doesn't seem to be reference to some of the things like the barley and wheat and stuff like this as evidence. There were some things the Native Americans cultivated in the past that they probably don't anymore, and a lot of the tradition about what plants you could eat was lost, but the Neos and the Shium, or however you're supposed to say that, and you notice that the story of the Israelites is being sort of mirrored a little bit in the Book of Mormon. there's this Exodus and 40, bunch of years, more than you would think is necessary, and trials in the wilderness. They want to return. Um, after they're in the promised land, they have to deal with the fighting within and the fighting without, and they're taken into bondage and returned, and taken into bondage and returned. Therefore it came to pass that after we had dwelt in the land for the space of 12 years, that King Laman began to grow uneasy, lest by any means my people should wax strong in the land, and that they could not overpower them and bring them into bondage. Now they were a lazy and an idolatrous people. Therefore they were desirous to bring us into bondage, that they might glut themselves with the labors of our hands, yea, that they might feast themselves upon the flocks of our fields. Therefore it came to pass that King Laman began to stir up his people, that they should contend with my people. Therefore there began to be wars and contentions in the land. For in the 13th year of my reign, in the land of Nepheh, away on the south of the land of Shalom, when my people were watering and feeding their flocks, and tilling their lands, a numerous host of Lamanites came upon them, and began to slay them, and to take of their flocks and the corn of their fields. Yea, and it came to pass that they fled, all that were not overtaken, even unto the city of Nepheh, and did call upon me for protection, and to take off their flocks. And some might say, is it Jupiter that has that 12-year cycle? Or Saturn or something? And it came to pass that I did arm them with bows, and with arrows, with swords, and with scimitars, and with clubs, and with slings, and with all manner of weapons which we could invent. And I and my people did go forth against the Lamanites to battle. Yea, in the strength of the Lord did we go forth to battle against the Lamanites. For I and my people did cry mightily to the Lord, that he would deliver us out of the hands of our enemies. For we were awakened to a remembrance of the deliverance of our fathers. And God did hear our cries, and did answer our prayers, and we did go forth in his might. Yea, we did go forth against the Lamanites. And in one day and a night we did slay 3,043. We did slay them even until we had driven them out of our land, and I myself with mine own hands did help to bury their dead. And behold, to our great sorrow and lamentation, 279 of our brethren were slain. And it came to pass that we again began to establish the kingdom, and we again began to possess the land in peace. And I caused that there should be weapons of war made of every kind, that thereby I might have weapons for my people against the time the Lamanites should come up again towards against my people. And I set guards round about the land, that the Lamanites might not come upon us again unawares, and destroy us. And thus I did guard my people and my flocks, and keep them from falling into the hands of our enemies. And sometimes people acquiring weapons are considering that doesn't mean that they're going to do something wrong with those weapons. It could be a deterrent. It could be, to do what's necessary as it seems necessary. Um, hopefully in defense of oneself or others, right? And it came to pass that we did inherit the land of our fathers for many years, yea, for the space of 22 years. And I did cause that men should till the ground, and raise all manner of grain, and all manner of fruit of every kind. And I did cause that the women should spin and toil and work all manner of fine linen, yea, and cloth of every kind, that we might clothe our nakedness. And thus did we prosper in the land. Thus did we have continual peace in the land for the space of 22 years. And 22 is a number we can relate to the particular alphabet of that what we call the New Testament is written in. There's the up to 30 letter version, and I guess you have another mark for the glottal stop or the double letter thing or whatever. You kind of do both, you know. Or you do one or the other. And it came to pass that King Lamon died, and his son began to reign in his stead, and he began to stir his people up in rebellion against my people. Therefore they began to prepare for war, and to come up to battle against my people. But I, having sent my spies out round about the land of Shemlon, that I might discover their preparations, that I might guard against them, that they might not come upon my people and destroy them. And I had sent my spies. One of the things that I do is I know, not only do I translate towards these different cultures, but I know of their ways, so I can kind of know some things that are coming, either politically or in personal reactions and stuff like this, and that sort of thing does work. And it came to pass that they came up upon the north of the land of Shalom, with their numerous hosts, men armed with bows, and with arrows, and with swords, and with scimitars, and with stones, and with slings, and they had their heads shaven, that they were naked, and they were girded about with a leathern girdle about their loins. I meant to say head shaved, and they were girded with a leathern girdle about their loins. Now, if they were modest, they were modest, but there's sort of the thing about, a little extra just to make sure. Because as much as you might not be blamed for the accident, it's better to prevent the accident of exposing part of what is called your private part. In the Bible, the private part for the male would be the knees to the belly button, and that was agreed upon by the Semites, that that's sort of your private part your whole life, for both genders. And of course the females have more that they cover, but it's agreed that they can cover their face and their hands and their feet in public. And it came to pass that I caused that the women and children of my people should be hid in the wilderness, and I also caused that all my old men that could bear arms, and also all my young men that were able to bear arms, should gather themselves together to go to battle against the Lamanites, and I did place them in their ranks, every man according to his age. Now, if adolescents are fighting, and even, why not, and they have accountability, why not let them take part in what's actually necessary? The idea that some groups can be left out that are able to fight among the males is in particular, that's sort of the sign that it's not really the thing. And it's better to, when the fight comes down, you you try to get the women out of the way. That's just, that's misogynist. It's like, no, you put yourself in the way of anybody who's going to attack the women and children. And it came to pass that we did go up to battle against the Lamanites, and I, even I, in my old age, should go up to battle against the Lamanites. And it came to pass that we did go up in the strength of the Lord to battle. And see, you got to put it in a religious context. And if you can't put it in a religious context, it's not worth doing. And that sort of applies to everything, but particularly the more severe things. And, people don't get that, And if you're going to do something, might as well give it the context. But a lot of people, that keeps them from doing certain stuff, because how can I put this thing? It's like, it's like somebody wants to do something outside of the army or law enforcement, and it's like, if you can't handle the training for the police or the military, how can you say that you have the spiritual training to make this part of your thing, right? Now, The Lamanites knew nothing concerning the Lord, nor the strength of the Lord. Therefore they depended upon their own strength, yet they were a strong people. As to the strength of men, they were a wild and ferocious and a bloodthirsty people, believing in the tradition of their fathers, which is this, believing that they were driven out of the land of Jerusalem because of the iniquities of their fathers, and that they were wronged in the wilderness by their brethren, and that they were also wronged while crossing the sea, and again, that they were wronged while in the land of their first inheritance after they had crossed the sea. And all this because that Nephi was more faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. Therefore he was favored of the Lord, for the Lord heard his prayers and answered them, and he took the lead of their journey in the wilderness. And his brethren were wroth with him, because they understood not the dealings of the Lord. They were also wroth with him upon the waters, because they hardened their hearts against the Lord. And again they were wroth with him when they had arriven to the promised land, because they said that he had taken the ruling of the people out of their hands, and they sought to kill him. And again they were wroth with him, because he departed into the wilderness, as the Lord had commanded him, and took the records which were engraven on the plates of brass. For they said that he had taken the ruling of the people out of their hands. And they sought to kill him. And again they were wroth with him, because he departed into the wilderness, as the Lord had commanded him, and took the records which were engraven upon the plates of brass, for they said that he robbed them. And thus they had taught their children that they should hate them, and that they should murder them, and that they should rob and plunder them, and do all they could to destroy them. Therefore they have an eternal hatred towards the children of Nephi. For this very cause hath King Lamon, by his cunning and lying craftiness, and his fair promises, hath deceived me, that I have brought this my people up into this land, that they might destroy them. Yea, and we have suffered this many years in the land. And so one of the things that we have there is this, like, if it's not going on now, it doesn't go on to this generation. It's getting revenge for previous generations upon their descendants and stuff like that. This is not the right thing to do. And honestly, some people are poorer as a long-term result, or something like that, as a long-term result of what their ancestors did. That was oppression that would have put them in a bigger position, but, you know, some things became the case, right? And we have suffered this many years, and his fair promises deceived me. For this very cause has King Lamon, when they had arrived in. And there's also this overall view. Wasn't that, you know, okay, there was one incident, and the Serbians used it as an excuse to rile up people 500 years later. One incident, not the overall thing of the spread of empire or the treatment of an empire. Well, I mean, it's a pretty big incident, but you know what I mean. You know, it's... And now I, Zenith, after having told all these things unto my people concerning the Lamanites, I did stimulate them to go to battle with their might, putting their trust in the Lord. Therefore we did contend with them face to face, and it came to pass that we did drive them again out of our land, and we slew them with a great slaughter, even so many that we did not number them. And, well, it's not about the number anyways. But the thing is that if it's the right effort to make, don't worry about the overall. It will come forth as it's going to come forth. But if it's the right, that doesn't mean, there's, you're outnumbered by you're outnumbered 1,000-fold, and you start something because, oh, you just, you know, there's probably a better way to go about it. And it came to pass that we returned again to our own land, and my people again began to tend their flocks and to till their ground. And now I, being old, did confer the kingdom upon one of my sons. Therefore I say no more, and may the Lord bless my people. Amen. And one difference that I would point out is this merely transferring things to one's children. And if it's one's own personal agenda, it's your own particular, your novel or your particular type of specialty, the children don't have to pass that on. I mean, if you have medical books or mechanic books or something like that you wrote, it's good your children find people to give that to people, but you shouldn't make their inheritance conditional on that, or you shouldn't, whatever. And the government really shouldn't be just who were your ancestors, or who did you know even.